half installed yesterday. The unit that's inside the office is in, but the compressor and the motor and all that, which is going to go on the roof, is not in. So that the room is still in disarray, and it was supposed to be done today, but the people, like delivery people and workmen and stuff like that, have the habit of thinking that you work for them or something, so it's been postponed from today till tomorrow. Not much I can do. Not much I can do. Okay, so we're supposed to have a little bit of a break from the weather today, but I tell you, when I say little bit, I mean little bit. I'm trying to get a reading of what it is now. It's 86. So in a few minutes I'll have to take a break and bring the dogs in, but they could hang around a little longer up there. And it's going to be 100 or 101 today. Probably 100, 99 or 100. It might be the first day in a long time that we didn't hit 100. And 74 at night. So, you know, it's a little bit better. I use the word a little. But it's still going on. And it should be, according to their predictions, not as bad as it has been. But it's still going to hit around 100 for quite a while till the end of the month. Even into August. So it's just terrible. So please pray. You know, the problem we got here is that we spend about 7 months of the year stuck in the apartment because the weather's either cold, damp, rainy, or blistering hot. So why do you want to go outside? So you sit in the house and you run your electricity bill up on heating or air conditioning, and you sit in the house. I don't think that's a healthy lifestyle. I think it's a decrepit lifestyle. It reminds me of growing up in New York, where you're cooped up in the house all winter, not in the summer. Oh, get off the line a bit. I don't know. Let me see who this is. Hello? Anybody there? Anybody? Try again. Somebody started calling me. I think it was a pet store. Let me call them. Well, give me a sec. Well, I'll just worry about it later. I don't know. Somebody called. I don't know. Can't be that important. All right. I had a big recording, and normal people don't have big recordings. I'm not concerned. I'm not expecting any deliveries or anything. So. All right. So yeah, it's just like, you know, I'm sitting there trying to look at the way we live here, and it just seems stupid, you know, because there are small places and pockets in Israel one could live, even staying in the Galilee, which they need to do, where you don't have a, you know, cooped up in the house more than half the year lifestyle, you know. In New York, we used to be, you'd basically be in the house from November, December, January, February, into March. So it was only about 5 months because you didn't have this heat You rarely hit 90 over there, and 90's nothing, you know. I can go sit outside under a tree at 90. That's not a big deal, but it's gotten so, it's so bad here. You gotta ask myself, why do I want to live locked up in the house for 7 months out of the year? It's a good question, isn't it? Yeah. Now, does most of Israel have bad weather? Absolutely, 100%. This little Israel we have now, most of it has terrible weather. That's why it's called Zion, which means parched place. It's just not nice. And I'm sure that's on purpose. When we hit the great day of the Lord, after that's over, we'll have the new heaven and the new earth, contrary to what the church world teaches. And that's what the Bible teaches. And then we'll have, I'm sure, beautiful weather. But until then, I don't think we're really going to be looking forward to a lot of great weather. Jerusalem is expensive like crazy. No parking. Crowded, congested, not exactly dirty, but I wouldn't call it clean. It's noisy, and it has lots of great food, no shortage of great food. And the food over there would probably be the same price or cheaper than what I pay here. The supermarkets and the groceries are probably cheaper there because there's no real competition here. There's two big supermarket chains in my area, where in Jerusalem you have 15 or 20, so a sump of it would be cheaper. And they mostly all deliver. We're here and there's very little delivery. In this village there's absolutely nothing to do. There's no sidewalks. It's dangerous for me to go walking, or anybody to go walking, because you're not walking on a sidewalk, you're walking on a very narrow road. And we got no stores here except a decent little mini market, and we don't have a real post office. We got a post office that you could only pick up packages 8 hours a week, 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. You can't mail anything out. It's a joke. We got a borderline pizza guy that opened up, and a bakery. Nothing else. Not a thing. Nothing. About a mile away we have a gas station. And it has a little, sells candy and coffee and beer, I think, And then it has an excellent pizza store there. And there's a food truck, and there's an Arab restaurant, and intentions are high. I wouldn't dare go in there. And there's another Arab restaurant and a substandard pizza place, maybe an eighth or a tenth of a mile away. So, when we moved here originally, it's the highest per capita collection of believers in Israel is here. But, over time I came to realize, I would say at least half of them are not real believers. Some of them are just people that say they're believers, those that are called but not chosen because their actions are absurd. No believers behave that way. And a fantastically huge amount of false believers live here. Of course, they like to collect with each other. And the local government is very sympathetic to believers because there's so many. Actually, one of the big false believers held some office in the local government a few years ago. They're building houses all over the place, so the population has gone up. And, I can't, if I was going to sit with a piece of paper and make a list of all the good things living here, I don't know what I'd write. It's peaceful, it's quiet, and when the weather's good, it's really nice. the other 7 months of the year, you know, it's not very good. Your weather goes bad here June, July, August, and September. That's 4 months. And then in your winter, you know, sometime November to December to January to February, it's bad. You got maybe 7 or, you know, I could even say maybe 8 months, 7 or 8 months of the year. You don't want to go outside. Why do you want to go outside when it's cold, damp, windy, and rainy? What are you going to do, sit outside? Walk outside? What are you going to do? What are you going to do when it's 98 degrees? Go take a walk? How about 94 degrees or 93 degrees? You're still not going to take a walk. You know, I think up to about 85 degrees, you could walk around outside when you're used to the heat. So, you know, I'm thinking, what am I doing here? It's just like, you know, rocks in the head living like this. Yeah, we got a nice garden. We don't have a big piece of property. It's maybe a third or a fourth of an acre. And I don't know. You know, I don't know what the point of living here is in this particular neighborhood. It seems dumb. So I don't know what God's will is either. So pray that if it's God's will to move, which it may very well not be, that we could get a good house that's affordable, you know, with a yard and meets our needs, that's in a place with more acceptable weather. You know, there are a few places where you can live like that. Caesarea is one, Naharia is another that's really cheap, but you got to be careful with that one. You're 7 miles away from Lebanon. It's beautiful. You're really on the water, not near the water, on the water. Okay? And you're only 15, 20 minutes to Haifa, which is not a lot of time. And Naharia has restaurants and shopping, and it's not a high-priced area. I don't know where else to go. I'm supposed to stay in the Galilee, and I'm not sure Naharia is really in the Galilee. This is all the way over on the coast. I have to really study that. And that, I mean, I don't know how to study that. Does the Bible define the Galilee? I don't know. I know that I could walk a few hundred meters from my house and look down over the overlook and I see the whole Galilee, so I know I'm living in the Galilee. But anything near the Galilee that doesn't have a lot of high altitude is going to be a horribly hot, terribly difficult place to live in. I could go to the Golan Heights and catch altitude over there, maybe 800, 900 above sea level, or here I think I'm maybe 100 or 200 above sea level feet, you know, something like that. Maybe 300 maximum, but if you get to, I don't know, 800, 900, 1200, you're going to get a good drop in temperature. So that's an idea to go to the Golan Heights. It's pretty cheap there, but there's nothing there. That's the problem with it. I got to see if there's any communities there that where you're not just staring at the grass, you know. She's in the house.
She's hiding.
Well, she hides. She's allowed to hide.
No, she's under the bed. That's not her normal place.
She's hiding under the bed. Maybe she wants away from the fan or something. So, you know, please pray that the Lord shows me what to do. I have a feeling I'm not supposed to go anywhere, but I don't want to make a mistake. So it's just so hard living here. It's it's almost comic book existence is that bad, really. It's almost that bad. Imagine living in a place where you don't want to go outside for 7 or 8 months a year. That's what this is. And I've had, I don't know, 9 years of this. I used to live in Tiberias. Let me tell you, that's worse. If you could believe it. That's worse. Used to open up the door to my house and I'd feel very much like you opened your oven when you were cooking. Really. And it's all apartment living on concrete. And, oh man, you know, it's so hard here, you know. So that's what's going on. So please pray about that for us. And I'll do our praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Let me try to explain why a lot of the Jews wound up living in New York. When I was there, I think there was maybe 1 million Jews living there or something. It was very odd. Most of them came before World War I. Okay? And they came out of Poland, Russia, and that area of Europe, a lot of them. And they were living in temperatures of minus 20 to minus 40 in the winter. I heard the stories with ice to stick on the inside of the house and, you know, all kinds of stuff like that. When the kids would go to bed, they'd heat up a rock or a brick in their oven and then throw it under the blanket with the kid, maybe wrap it in something not to burn the kid. And it would keep the kid warm for much of the night. And, you know, stuff like this. Kids would they'd have a lot of children because kids would get sick in the winter and die. So they kept, the way they kept their line going was with having a lot of children. They didn't have doctors. They lived in what's called shelters, ghetto villages. They were very poor, dirt poor. So they got expelled from Russia by the Tsar, and they came all over the place. A lot of them couldn't get into America because of quotas. They wound up in Mexico, South America, some in Canada. It's a large Mexican Jewish community, nice people in Mexico. Mexico City, a lot of them. Nice people. Very close to Israel. A lot were in Argentina. You had them spread out. You had them in most of the countries down there, but not in any great concentrations. You know, Argentina, yeah. Brazil, I don't think that many went to. Colombia, they were there, but not that much. You know, Chile and Peru, they were there, but not that much. You know? So they were used to this horrific weather, and in the winter when it wasn't snowing or raining, I used to see the refugees that were born and raised in Russia and Poland and places like that in New York. Like on Shabbat, they would put good clothes on, and they would all go stand in the street and talk to each other, and they used to get milk boxes, wooden milk boxes from the stores that would throw them away and they'd put them out in the street and they'd use them to sit on. And they used to carry them back and forth from their house like a chair. And at this point, most of them were retired because they were old. You know, they were late 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. They were old. And they got Social Security money, which was very small, but a lot of them were paying rent, like, $75, $100 a month, or maybe less. And they'd sit in the house. They wouldn't turn the lights on to save money. The steam heat came from the building for free. They used to eat tons of chicken. I mean, you would have no idea how much. I mean, it was the mainstay, was chicken. I mean, it was the mainstay. And they would eat a lot of potatoes, because that was what they were used to in Russia, was potatoes, because they'd keep for the winter. And they'd cook them with oil, and it would have a lot of carbohydrates and give the people, energy, and their body could make heat and stuff like that. So they had millions of potato dishes. They didn't make French fried potatoes. They didn't know from that. I mean, they knew from that, but that wasn't one of them. They made potato kugel, latkes, all kinds of stuff like this. And with oil and frying and grease. It was really common to see them with blood pressure problems when they got older. They ate a lot of beets, called it borscht, soup or a drink from that. They ate some vegetables. Did they make salads? Almost never. It was foreign to them to have a salad before the meal, but didn't make it. I don't, never, they didn't do it. They'd have a soup before the meal, and then they'd have the meal, which they used to use vegetables. Not just potatoes, they had onions, they had, I remember a lot of the boiled onions. They didn't fry onions, they never made onion rings. I never saw them ever do that. Never saw the old ones make French fries or onion rings. I mean, maybe rarely did. They knew how, but... And they had broccoli, carrots. They liked carrots a lot. Mushrooms they didn't go for. Yeah, different things. Did they barbecue? Nah, they didn't know from barbecue. They would cook on a stove, with a gas stove, which is how the stoves were, and they had an oven that was a gas oven. Some of them later on, probably in the 60s, maybe the late 50s, bought rotisseries, little electric ovens, but most didn't. I never saw them buy TV dinners. They'd never do that. Did they buy? They used to buy frozen vegetables. I saw them do that at a convenience, and they buy the frozen orange juice pulp, concentrate, and make orange juice in summer. And they bought fresh fruits, the whole gamut of fruits. They eat it all. They like the fruits. They bought bread. Most of them never made their own bread. They saved leftovers in the refrigerator. But I mean, it was so bad when I left New York and, I went to college out of town and all that. I didn't eat chicken when I went out of town. Because I had chicken so much in my life, I couldn't stand it anymore. And I went a period of a number of years in my life without eating chicken as an adult away from home. Probably, maybe 6 or 7 years or something like that. I wouldn't eat chicken at all. No KFC, nothing. And one day, I broke down and went to KFC, and I said, wow, this is really nice. I like it again. So I eat it again, but oh gosh, it's all the time chicken. Now my parents lived for the neighborhood pretty good. In the greater scheme of things, we were probably upper lower class. Okay. in the reality. Okay, we were not the working poor, we were the working lower class. Okay, so my father was an aeronautical engineer with a 4-year degree, so he was able to earn enough of a living. We had a car, usually bought used cars. We didn't have nice furniture, we didn't have nice things in the house. We had a tiny apartment, but we had a variety of food. My mother used to make a lot of lamb chops, roast beef. She'd make corned beef that really wasn't very tasty, but they used to like it, so they made it tongue, cow tongue. No, sometimes turkey, not often. Tons of chicken. And she made these lousy steaks. I mean, it wasn't necessarily her. The steak is intrinsically so bad, nobody could make it good. It was kosher to eat, so it's probably never going to taste good because they wash it with water and salt it 2 times. It ruins the flavor and the texture of the meat. So a Michelin star chef couldn't make this stuff taste good, okay? Unless he just flavored the death out of it, but then the texture would be no good. So you can't have good, tasty kosher beef. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. So they called them minute steaks. They were these little things. I used to eat them. They were crappy. She made hamburgers, the same kosher garbage meat. It was crappy, you know. And some of the food she made was good, and, you know. So the reason they moved there is they didn't drive cars. They didn't understand it. In the whole shtetl, probably nobody had a car except maybe the government. And they maybe there was some cars, but they certainly didn't own any. They didn't know how to drive. And there were adults when they came to America. And New York had the most fantastic public transportation system you could imagine. So they learned how to use the public transportation, which was relatively easy. It takes an hour to study it, you know, it's easy. So they had the subways and the buses, and then if they were, you know, highfalutin or something like that, they used a taxi, which used to be affordable. When it was bad weather, we used to, instead of waiting for the bus in the snow, we used to group together, 3 or 4 of us, and get a taxi and go to junior high school with the taxi. And, or if it was really cold, I don't know what it cost, 75 cents or $1 or something like that to get there. So we'd split it amongst 4 of us. Where the bus was relatively free because you bought a bus pass every month. It was probably like $3 a month or something. So the buses were relatively free, but she used to pay for me to take a taxi, and we'd hook up with a couple other kids and take the taxi, and we'd be relatively warm, stuff like that. You used to have to give the guy a 25-cent tip. I think it was 75 cents plus 25-cent tip. And if you didn't give him the tip, the guy got ballistic, so they knew that, so they made sure they gave him the tip. So if the older people would go out, you know, they went out, when they were younger, when they were young still, they came over, these young people, adults, so when they were 35, 40 years old, they'd been here some years, they were working, they'd go out. You know, they're married, they go out on dates, and they go to a restaurant or go see a show, or go to a movie, or whatever they were going to do, right? Or go visit somewhere, and it was bad weather, they would take a taxi home, you know, instead of schlepping up and down the bus and the subways and all that kind of stuff, you know. But even when I was a kid, growing up as a teenager, we were able to take the subways and the buses late at night relatively safely. You didn't have to worry. So they were so used to the cold weather in Russia, where it would go to minus 20 and minus 40. In New York, it would rarely go below minus 5. So they were able to stand around all afternoon outside in the street wearing an overcoat in the dead of winter. And when the sun was out, which would usually be from about 11 to 3 or so, they would stand in the street with very cold weather, not minus 5, but if it was maybe 20 degrees, plus 20 degrees or something like that, or plus 30, they'd stand outside, but most people would be very, very cold with that. So the cold weather didn't bother them. The hot weather wasn't that hot. They'd buy a fan. They didn't go for air conditioning. They had a fan. And they were happy. They had plenty of food. They had heat in the winter. The summers weren't so bad there. They were happy. And they never went anywhere. Some of them became more affluent, and they would go to Miami in the winter maybe. Most of them didn't go on airplanes. A lot of them never went on a plane in their life, or they went 1 or 2 times. I don't think my grandfather on my mother's side ever went on an airplane, and I don't think my father's father ever went on an airplane. And I used to know my great-grandparents. I used to see them all the time. They never went on an airplane. On my mother's side, I'd see the great-grandparents. So, so they lived in New York, and but the weather in New York, when I go on reflection, is better than the weather here. Because when I think about it, by Thanksgiving in New York, you're cooped up inside. During the whole month of October, you're outside. You're wearing a warm jacket, but you can still be outside. It's not that bad, It's 45, 50, 55. Might hit 60. And by the time you hit Thanksgiving, forget it, the weather's finished. And by March, you're outside again playing ball and stuff like that. So the summer doesn't, you have a few days in the summer where the weather stinks, but most of the time you're outside. And the spring is fantastic weather. It's gorgeous. And the fall, the autumn, is not very long. It actually starts probably around the beginning of September and goes into October, and maybe 6 weeks. And the weather's not so great. It starts raining, it's windy, but it's not bad. Here, the springtime, sometimes the last 2 or 3 years, it was long. It was great. Frequently, it's like 3 weeks or something. It's almost nothing. And sometimes you go right from hot weather, like in November or something like that. You go right from hot weather, boom, into terrible rain, cold, damp weather. And then the houses stink here. The houses are built like idiots build them, okay? They build concrete block houses and they don't put insulation in them. This is the dumbest thing in the world. Does the government ever speak to them about this publicly? Never. You know how much electricity they would save if they insulated the houses? It'd be incredible. I think if they put aluminum siding on the exterior of the houses, they would probably cut their air conditioning and heating bill down by a fortune. They don't do it. Just concrete block. So they build the houses to stay cooler in the summer. And does it work? Until the sun bakes the house, it works. And then by the middle of the day, when the sun's baking the house, it doesn't work anymore, and the house gets hot as all get up. And then they don't have wall-to-wall carpeting. They got tiled floors, which keeps cool. The way they built the floors is they put drains like in the living room, the dining room, around the house. And there were hose attachments, and the mother would hose the floor down with a little bit of water in the morning, and then take a big squeegee on a broomstick and squeegee the water to get it down the drain, and then the rest of it would evaporate out in the warm weather. And it would cool the floor down, which in turn would cool the house out. And plus it keeps it clean. And that's what they would do. And it works acceptably well in the summer, but in the winter the tile floor is a massive enemy. So I don't ever remember seeing anybody with more wall carpeting here. The very rich, the expats, they're the only ones that can afford it, have the hot pipes placed under the tile. It's a pipe that runs hot water, and it recirculates the hot water and heats it up, and then it heats the tile up, and the heat comes up off the floor, heat rises and keeps the house warm in an absolutely excellent way, and you could walk around barefoot on the tile in the winter. It's great. I know one person that had that, and he was an expert. So that's, a problem. All they would have to do to these houses is put sheetrock inside, throw 1.5 inches or 2 inches insulation between the concrete block and the sheetrock, and the houses would be so much cooler and so much warmer in the winter. Now, they don't even build the new houses today with insulation. See how hard it is living with people that have their ears stopped up and their eyes blinded, and it's so hard. It's really hard. And they don't get what's going on. So now Israel is really ripping up. A cop and a security guard were assaulted yesterday from the protesters. So it's starting. Okay, it's beginning. The Supreme Court condemned they didn't take an action yet, but they verbally made a decision condemning the police receiving a quota of how many arrests they need to make at a protest. See, this is a bunch of dumbbells in the government trying to make everything okay by violently suppressing the protesters from protesting, which is an idiot's idea of how to deal with the situation. Just sheer idiots. And it's getting worse and worse. And I tell you, Netanyahu's very worried. They're doing a digital thing today where now remember, there's units in the military that work with computers, probably delivering cyber attacks to the enemies if there's a battle going on or something, and protecting our military and government infrastructure from the cyber attacks. And they're protesting Netanyahu. So they're having a day of, basically they're going to stop a lot of the apps from working in Israel today. They are telling Netanyahu they're going to wreck his country and their country, because they'd rather nip this thing in the bud than see Netanyahu get into dictator status and then start brainwashing the people and the military and all that, and then it may be too late. And the sickest part of this whole thing, it wouldn't be that bad if you didn't have the ultra-Orthodox mixed in. The ultra-Orthodox is a cult. And they're leeches. They're the biggest welfare drain on Israel is them. Not the Holocaust survivors, not the old people, it's them. They want everything they can get from the government, which the people have to pay for. And then they tell the people they're not even Jews. They say, you're just historical Jews. If you're not like us, you're not a Jew. So are they anti-Semitic? You bet they are. They're not self-hating Jews. They hate every other Jew other than themselves. They dislike them and they discriminate against them. They won't let you in their supermarkets, they won't let you in their restaurants, nothing. So the same thing is eventually going to start happening to them, but it doesn't really matter. They don't go in your supermarkets and they won't go in your restaurants. They cross the street. If a woman walks in their neighborhoods in Jerusalem, let's say, or B'nai Brak or something, they'll walk across the street to make sure they don't brush against a woman because she could be menstruating. Now, I have seen these guys go in restaurants and eat, but they have to be careful because I've seen women waitresses in these restaurants, and these women may be secular, although the restaurant could be kosher. So if she touches the food and gives it to them, that's probably okay, and they reckon it. But what if she touches them? They probably make sure she doesn't touch them. I guess. I don't know. Their rules are not Bible rules. Their rules are extra biblical books that their own people wrote. It's not the word of the Lord or anything like that. It's the word of the Talmudic rabbis. And Talmud was around during Yeshua's time too. That's very likely the handwriting of ordinances that he got away from. He got us away from. He certainly didn't get us away from the Torah law and Moses' law, because when you read in Matthew 24, he's talking about the people fleeing Jerusalem. He says, pray your flight not be on Sabbath. Why would he say that if he did away with the law? See, there's a total lack of logic with the church narrative, yet people believe it because they're called and not chosen. So Netanyahu had to go to the hospital a couple of days ago, spent the night there, went into the emergency room, and they wound up treating him by putting a subcutaneous heart monitor in him. Now, they don't do that because they're dehydrated. They do that. They might give you a regular heart monitor, but when they do subcutaneous, it means they want really accurate readings. And that means the doctors are worried about something. They're concerned about something, and they want to watch it. And when you're dehydrated, they normally don't keep you overnight. They could, though, but it's not common. They usually keep you and run 1 or 2 IV bags into you to hydrate you up. But you could also do it yourself. Just sit there with a bottle of water, and by the time you get 1.5 liters of water in you ain't going to be dehydrated anymore. Okay? Now, imagine, the old movies like Humphrey Bogart in the desert without the water, and somebody comes along and gives them a bottle of water this big and they drink it down. You think they're still going to be dehydrated? No. Maybe 6 or 8 hours later in the desert they can get back to the dehydration, but it takes them out of it. Usually when I feel I'm getting dehydrated, I take about that much and come out of it. But I don't let myself get into extreme dehydration either. You start feeling sluggish and tired, and then you start guzzling water, and you usually come right out of it. If you have a water ozonator, bubble the ozone through your water for 5 minutes and then drink a glass of lemon water. You'll just spring out of dehydration immediately, but you can get the same effect just by guzzling some water. I keep Gatorade around the house. I think Gatorade has electrolytes in it, and it tends to bring you around. I like to drink, little bottles of Gatorade, like, a third or half a bottle every day, just to keep the electrolytes going when the temperature's insane like this. Let me check the weather. I might have to get the dogs in. I'm going to let them stay till about 91 degrees, and then we'll come home. It's showing 89, 90. I think I'm going to be a good guy and bring them home. So they'll be here with us in the broadcast in a minute. Give me a couple of minutes to go outside and get them. It's not going to be long. I don't want to leave them there. How do I get out? out of here. Everything's all discombobulated by the construction of the air conditioning. No. But I took a break to bring him home. It's 90 degrees. That's enough. All right, kids, I'm coming through. I think we're happy about that. They have a very, very heavily shaded area, so it's probably 5 or 10 degrees cooler where they are than out in the sun. So it's not that bad, but enough's enough. They got to get outside, you can't keep them in. So now they're giving us high forecasts for tomorrow, over 100. It's every few hours they change it. It's going to be over 100, not going to be, it's just horrible. Why should one live like this if they don't have to? That's my thought. Well, maybe I'm supposed to be in this area. So, Netanyahu's heart is obviously problematic, and he's, as much as he can consider himself good at dealing with insane political situations, which he is rather good at, this is overwhelming him. He has to cater to the ultra-Orthodox and their idiot practices, which he already did. He already budgeted them a lot of money. And the people are mad as all get up about this. And they want a draft exemption where their kids don't go in the army. And Netanyahu is perfectly happy to give it to him if he could get away with it and keep their vote. Breaks up away, and as he loses his coalition, he's no longer the prime minister. He's what's called the custodial prime minister, and in 90 days, which could usually go 90 to 120 days, they have a new election, which is probably never going to win again. And the High Court could pick him off because his power is so limited as an interim prime minister. They may go after him. They're afraid of him. If they go after him and remove him from office, which there is currently a petition submitted to the High Court that they're going to have to rule on, that they can't keep him there because he is tampering with the judicial process to modify his position in the criminal cases that he has, 3 of them. So he is definitely messing with the system for his own personal gain. And the Supreme Court, I think, is afraid of him because if they do something like that, he's liable to turn right around. I think his recourse would be turned right around and say they're doing a tyrannical overthrow of the government and, this, that, and the other thing, and arrest them. Or do something else to them. I don't know why. So he's very scared of this. And they're scared of him. So I think this petition may have been the trigger for his getting a heart attack. Or whatever is wrong with his heart. Something's wrong with his heart. And he doesn't know what to do. He can't get the police. I think what Ben Gvir is in charge of the police wants. Ben Gvir he has, in my mind, good biblical intentions, but he's not got a lot upstairs. He's a blunt instrument, which is okay, but he, in this type of a perverted democracy government, and all democracies are messed up, I think, he doesn't know how to navigate the waters of the democracy, and that's a problem. What he wants is biblical Zionism, but he doesn't recognize the Messiah, so, he's confused, he's Talmudic oriented, he doesn't understand too much. But he doesn't want the people in Israel having to live with Palestinian terrorists. He wants to stop it. Where Netanyahu is pretty content to let it go on. So it would be Gantz and the AP. They would keep running after them, blowing kisses at them. The problem is this. Jehovah is never going to let them be nice to a bunch of people to the tune of 1.6 million in Israel that worship false gods with monuments to false gods. They're never going to allow that. He's never going to let that work out. So the Ben Gvir and the Smotrich have the right answer, but they don't know how to navigate it and make it work inside this system. Because this system is never going to work for Israel. So what I'm telling you in reality is this democracy is never going to make Israel the right kind of place or make it a safe, comfortable place. Never. Not biblically speaking, is ever going to work out. Okay? So Netanyahu is at wit's end with the protesters. More and more military is saying they're not going to report to duty, and the top general is continually running around telling the government, including the Minister of Defense, that this is a real serious problem. And Netanyahu is turning around and saying the protesters are not democratic, they're trying to overthrow the government. You see, Netanyahu thinking like an expire, it runs like this. Oh, they voted me into office, now I can do what they want. The fact that, he ran for office, he didn't say to the people, I want to be a dictator and disable the court system so it's just the legislative and the executive system, which I control, the legislative, and I am the executive, and I'll be a dictator, but don't worry, I'm your Netanyahu, I'll take care of you. That's basically what he wants the people to believe after the fact. Now, the ultra-Orthodox are very happy to let Netanyahu do that as long as he lets them have his way. So he's trying to make a deal with Gantz to throw the ultra-Orthodox out anyway and put Gantz in. And I don't know the progress of this. But Gantz is likely not going to trust Netanyahu, and very likely, I think, not do it. Eventually, Yair Lapid and Gantz will run against Netanyahu and probably get a vote of no confidence. And then, if they get in, prophetically time allows, they'll see the ultra-Orthodox as a very major threat, and they will diminish their power and influence as much as they possibly can. That means attacking the chief rabbinate's office. And how would that work? Well, they would let other rabbis write kosher certificates. They would take the exclusive rights to do that away from the Orthodox rabbis, which Netanyahu gave them. So they could make money that way. So you bust them out. The ultra-Orthodox will only get kosher certificates from the ultra-Orthodox rabbis, but the other people will use conservative, reformed, regular rabbis to get a kosher certificate, and most of the people will think that's satisfactory. Okay? And that'll be the end of that. That'll cut their revenue drastically. Giving them all kinds of stipends and support. They normally aren't going to go back and remodify the budget after they gave it to them, but they might, or they may stop it the next year. They did it for 2023, they'll leave it right. But for the next year, they won't approve it. They'll just cut it way back. So they're going to lose their benefits. In terms of their young men going in the military, forget about it. They're going to have to go in the military, or they'll have to go to jail, or they'll have to do something. And they've threatened to just tell all their young men to go to jail because the jails can't hold them. Will the government do this? No, they won't put 20 or 40,000 of them in jail or anything like that. They won't do that. They not only can they not do it, they won't do it. I don't know what they will do. They might start expelling them out of Israel if they won't go in the military. There's a lot of constitutional challenges to that if they're citizens, which they would be. So it's a problem. They'll strip them away from the immigration ministry, so they can't control immigration. The chief rabbinate will no longer be able to determine who's a Jew and who's not a Jew. And they won't be able to control who gets married in Israel. They'll probably still be able to control who gets buried in an Orthodox cemetery, but I don't know how they'll strip them of that. Basically what they'll do is they'll attack the chief rabbinate's office by stripping it of its powers. And that's a big money maker for these people, and that will hurt them in a very, very big way, weaken them tremendously. They have two court systems in Israel. They have a Orthodox court system, which can just basically do civil and family law, and it's almost like both. For civil, the only time they're going to have jurisdiction is if both parties want to use them. In other words, I don't believe an ultra-Orthodox could sue a secular person and drag them into Orthodox court, but they could sue another Orthodox person who agrees to go to the Orthodox courts. Then comes the family law, and if one party, the husband or the wife in the family law decides they want to use the Orthodox courts, it's going to go to the Orthodox court. So that can happen. So they're going to, I don't know what they're going to do with that. They'll probably weaken it somehow. They'll push forward with LGBT rights. They'll push forward with women's rights. They'll leave the ultra-Orthodox alone as long as the ultra-Orthodox don't try to control the government, control the people, or blood suck money out of the government. As long as they just deal with their own matters and their own affairs and support themselves, they'll be left alone. But they can't support themselves because they stopped secular education at grade 8, and they may not even do that much. So their people have, almost all of them have no skills to work outside. They have no skills. So some of them have, they get apprenticed by the family. They're in the diamond business, or they're in the furniture business, or the garment business, or auto parts business or something. And they learn the business and they work in the business. There's some of them that do have businesses. Lion's share of them are not working. When they have a business, they're only going to hire other ultra-Orthodox, of course. So they're discriminatory like crazy, So that's what's going on. And then they got to get them out of the health ministry too, because they'll cut the budget on the rest of Israel's health care and beef up their own health care. They'll do that too. They'll do anything. They have a very strong resentment for anybody but their own kind. Strong resentment for Christians, Messianics, Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, atheists, communists, Baha'i, Catholic, anything. Strong dislike. And they don't want you in Israel. They only would rather have black coats in Israel. Well, that would certainly bring a tribulation on Israel. But they're not going to get that. Let me look at the chat just to make sure everything's working okay and see if I got any questions popping up or anything. Very low turnout today. I'm moving forward on getting videos up on my webpage. We have a TORS request for MM. TORS request for MM. Mike, MM. Where did this go? I gotta shut it. Okay. So, YouTube, I don't believe, shows my videos to anybody other than subscribers. But I think if they look at who's live now, they could find it. But there's pages and pages of them, and I'm pretty sure I'm way in the back. So I don't get much. So I think when you add up Telegram, Twitter, the website, and YouTube, I'm still down from where I was a couple of years ago. I'm still recovering from all those strikes they gave me, taking me off the air. So I removed all my old videos, thousands of them. I think 5,300 or something like that I took out. So I don't see myself getting. Well, anyway, I got very little views from the old videos. Some, but very little. So the good Bible studies that I did are up on the website, and they're very time consuming to type them out. I got maybe 1 or 2 or 3 more that I'm going to do, and I'm waiting for the heat to be over, because it's very hard for me to prepare for the broadcast, do the broadcast, and then after the broadcast, proofread the articles in the heat and then get them put up again. So I'm waiting until things get a little bit more sane with the weather. See, the dogs are in here with me and they're nice and quiet. That's because it's comfortable for them in here. And they're just going to take a rest now. It's very nice in here. And they'll probably be in here. I'll try to take them out to go potty in the afternoon, and then they'll probably be in here as a guest till 6 or 7 o'clock tonight, say 6:30, when the temperature should be palatable. But it depends how hot it gets. If it only gets to 99 or something like that, maybe they'll get out about 6, I don't know. It's here, and I'm waiting for the summer. I'm wishing the summer would be over. See, it's like, why do I want to live like this? You know, I'm sitting there thinking I'm not happy much of the time because I'm cooped up in the house. So that's why I'm asking for prayers, to see if it's His will for me to move to another house, and then where the heck do I go? I don't know. So I have to find out where to go. I know I'm not supposed to leave Israel, and I'm quite, not 100%, but quite sure I need to be in the Galilee right now. The Golan Heights is the Galilee, I believe. Mount Saith is the Galilee, and that is way up in the air high, but it doesn't get, so you don't have a bad summer, but you have a terrible winter with snow and everything, so forget that. I'm not going down that road. The sun's bad, but you don't have to get up and shovel it. So I wouldn't be happy there. Mount Hermon, nobody lives on, and you get snow there anyway. The other ideas would be to live on the coast of the Mediterranean, which normally is going to be cooler, because the water isn't getting anywhere near as hot as the concrete and the dirt, and you're normally going to have some air movement over the water. It's possible that the air could be still over the ocean, but it's not common. So that's usually cooler, maybe by 10 degrees, and it doesn't get as cold in the winter by about 10 degrees. So if I could get a 10-degree improvement, so when it's 102, 103, it's only 92, 93, that's a big difference. Big difference. It's extremely easy to cool a house at 92. At 102, 104, it's hard to cool the house. I mean, you can do it, but it's not easy. They do sell really good air conditioners in Israel. You basically got to balance it by the horsepower of the motor and the size of the room. If you've got a pretty big room, like, 20 by 15, you probably need 1.25 horsepower, but you can get them all the way up to 3.5 horsepower. But 3.5 horsepower would turn a big room into a freezer. You drop the temperature probably 30, 40, probably 30 degrees, if not more, maybe 40. You can do a whole house. You could do a 2,500 square foot house easily with a 3.5 horsepower air conditioner with ducts. easy. Maybe a 4,000 square foot house, you know. But these 1.5 horsepower motors are amazingly effective. They really do a lot. You know, that's all you need. A little room like this, I just got 1 horsepower. A guy I know in construction system, you don't need the high horsepower engines. If you just turn your air conditioner on and you leave it on all the time, and it'll eventually cool off the house. Yes and no. We've tried that. It doesn't. We have a bunch of rooms here, without counting the guest house, and we have a little air conditioner in the living room. We've got a big one in the dining room, and a little one in my wife's room. If you turn all 3 on, the house stays pretty darn cool. But now we'll have one in this room also, so we won't need the one in the air conditioner in the living room, so we'll probably leave this one on. Because we don't go in the living room much, it's just really for entertainment. Who are we going to entertain? Like the false believers over here? Hey, come on over here and stare in my eyes and, you know, see how you can deceive me and trip me up and make me fall, you know. I don't want these vermin in my house, you know. I don't want to have nothing to do with them, you know. So, let me try something here, hold on. What's going on? Not getting it. Yeah, there we go. I wasn't getting any email, but I just got one, so it's running. So I don't know what Netanyahu's going to do. They're giving it to him every day this week, the protesters, trying to shut different things down, highways, trains, I think light rails I'm not sure about. Now they want internet apps shut down. They're going to keep driving everybody crazy here to stop it. And this is a criminal, this thing. You gotta stop him. When Netanyahu is going to cave in and how it happens, I don't know. But nobody's stepping forward. Gantz and Yair Lapid are not stepping forward. Herzog went to see Biden without Netanyahu. So Netanyahu calls Biden up, and Biden acts nice to him and says, yeah, we'll invite you, but he doesn't say when. So it's just shining him on, I guess. So Herzog is going to probably give a report to Biden and Biden's staff about how they see this judicial overhaul taking place in Israel with the strikes and all that. Apparently the Biden administration is quite concerned about the loss of stability of Israel in the Middle East. Now, curiously and actually amazingly, the United States is upping its military presence in Syria by a lot. Now, Turkey has a military presence in Syria at the same time. Turkey is not so buddy-buddy with Russia these days. So now they put HIMARS missile systems in with the American soldiers in Syria. Those are relatively long-range missiles. So, what's up with that? Well, Russia has a Navy base in Syria on the Mediterranean in a town or a city called Latakia. They also have an air base very close to Latakia where they keep planes. And they got crews and maintenance and all that stuff, right? The Navy base, and to a much lesser extent the air base, but the Navy base is of paramount importance to Russia in the event of a war with NATO, because they could put ships into the Mediterranean very easily from this Latakia base. The importance of this to Russia is massive. So Russia's trying to expand their presence in Syria. Turkey is up in northeast Syria attacking the Kurds near the oil fields. And they're also working in Iraq, and America is working in Syria with American troops inside Syria without the permission of Bashar Assad, the ruler of Syria. So Syria is raising its army with IRGC soldiers that Iran sent over, and there's Russian air support, I believe, going on with it, not Russian infantry, and the Syrian regular army, and they're trying to get ready to combat America. So America is at this point pretty sick and tired of Syria. I think America wants Russia out of Syria. And it appears that America's gearing up to fight in Syria. They want to remain in Syria. Now, is America going to go and do something extreme, like put 5,000 to 10,000 soldiers into Syria? I am not sure that they have to. They have missiles, they've got mortars, artillery, and they have air support. They've got combat helicopters to support them and jets. So I don't think they need that many soldiers. What does a soldier on the battlefield do with a rifle? Oh, sorry, John, didn't see it. When they're up against tanks and armored personnel carriers, not a lot. And then there's jets and helicopters, so they don't have a lot. So they don't need to put thousands and thousands of infantry in there. What are they going to do? If they just put, 6 or 8 aircraft in there, advanced aircraft, they got something. But I don't believe they have any airfields in Syria, so where would they put the aircraft? Well, they have these places in Israel, but nobody's telling us that they have aircraft in Israel. They're not going to own up to that. They're just not. So I don't know where America has aircraft. They're not going to put the aircraft in Bahrain and Qatar and fly that far, I don't think. They could come off an aircraft carrier, but there's no close aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean right now that I'm aware of. So situation in Syria is got to blow up. Bashar Assad wants to shove America out using Iran and Russia to do it. I don't believe Blinken and Jake Sullivan have any intention of leaving because Bashar Assad just happens to feel that this is his country and he doesn't want them there. That doesn't work that way. We're the hammer of the whole earth. We're the daughter of Babylon. We're the great voice. And they're nervous about Russia getting a foothold there because of the Mediterranean. Russia may wind up keeping 12 or 14 ships in Latakia and putting 25 or 40 aircraft into the Latakia Air Base to protect their navy, and various anti-missile systems, anti-aircraft systems, artillery, offensive missiles, and whatever, and try to exert tremendous influence over the Mediterranean. And America needs this like a hole in the head. They could start sinking merchant marine ships and imposing their own sanctions or whatever the heck else they want to do. So America's not about to let this happen. They got a problem getting to the Mediterranean from the Black Sea and vice versa, because they got to go through the Bosphorus Straits, which Erdogan of Turkey controls, and Erdogan can close that to Russian Navy traffic if he wants to, easily shut it. So everything is crazy over there. I don't know. Apparently the Americans have some sort of plan, and the plan is to steadily wear down Russia and bust them up, and they lose in Ukraine. And if Russia recedes or withdraws from Ukraine territory back into Russia, I think immediately they'll put Ukraine in NATO to, if for nothing else, create a tremendous deterrent from any subsequent attacks on the part of Russia. Okay, there was some scriptures I wanted to cover here. Let me get there. Trying to look up the verse. I don't have it in my head. Daniel 7:25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times, laws, and they shall be given into his hand until the times, and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and the dominion and the greatness of all the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitation, or what is the word cogitation? My thoughts, cognitive. My thoughts much troubled me, and my countenance is, the way he looks and stuff, his attitude, his appearance, changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. Okay, so let's see what leads up to this. But the important thing is you have to understand, he shall speak words against the Most High. Okay, that's Satan's boy. Okay? And shall wear out the saints. Okay, the word wear out is bala. To wear away, to wear out, to harass constantly. Okay, so it's more like harass constantly. It's a mental state of mind, to afflict, to wear out. He shall speak great words against the Most High. Well, they do that all the time. He tells them we killed God, referencing when they killed Yeshua. That takes them to the Jesus-only theory where God is Yeshua, so when they killed Yeshua, they killed God. That's another one of the church crazy narratives against the Most High. And they speak against Jehovah and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Well, the word for saints is 6922 kadosh, which is the holy or the separate ones. Okay. And the Most High is alone. To change times, well, they got a Pope Gregory calendar going, don't they? And laws, well, Shabbat's finished, the divisions are okay, and stuff like that. Wear out the saints of the Most High. Think to change times and laws. Well, they changed the laws, they changed the time with the calendar, and they shall be given into his hand. Let's look at this. And there's a thing here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, and they shall be given. And the word that is in there is Yahab, which is to give. Let me see how Strong's treats this. Yeah, given into his hand, that should be yad, and so it's given hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Well, this is the one big thing I talk about that I don't have in clear scripture to support, that the Lord showed to me and corrected me very patiently on, okay? A time and times and half a time is speaking of captivity. The first captivity is Egypt, then Babylon, then the Roman captivity, which is still sort of going on, and then the half a time. So that's a time is one time, that's Egypt. Times is Babylon and Rome. And a half a time is the great day of the Lord, which is found in Zechariah 14, where half of Jerusalem goes into captivity. I'll read it to you. Now, a lot of people don't accept this, but this is the reality of what it is. Behold, the day of Jehovah, this is Zechariah 14:1. Behold, the day of Jehovah cometh, and thy spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all goyim all nations, against Jerusalem to battle. And the city shall be taken, and its Jerusalem is taken, and the houses rifled. That's it. This is what that happens to Israel. You get worn out. Are you not worn out? I am. Of course you're worn out. But it's not talking about getting your head cut off and having to take the mark of the beast and all that. Nowhere in the book of Daniel does it ever talk about the beast, the false prophet, the talking statue, having to take a mark to buy and sell, or getting your head cut off if you don't. It is completely absent out of the book of Daniel. Completely. Yet, people run around teaching this. It's absurd. It's not there. I'm going to take a fast break and then we'll, oops, get this put up. I'll be right back. Yeah. Let's not step on any of the pooches. Oops. All right. No, I'm not done. Yes, we can get this in Israel. So I think I'm getting a little sluggish. It's time to hit the electrodes. So Let me tell you how bad the church world is towards us. Messianic believers in Israel have a terribly hard time working. It's terribly difficult. They're controversial. The companies, the businesses don't want to hire them. If they're willing to travel outside of Israel most of the time, leaving their families here, and they have a high skill set, they could do things that the other Israelis normally can't do. They can get some work. That was me 30, 35 years ago, but most of them can't. It's very difficult. So sometimes you could start your own business and different things, but they send people here. Like there's a Norwegian guy here that somehow got a citizenship from Israel. Aryeh Deri used to be in charge of the immigration through the Ministry of the Interior, and he got convicted, I think, 3 times on corruption. So do you think maybe people were giving citizenships out that, I don't know, but all right, let's move on. Why this non-Jewish person is living here as a citizen or something, or a permanent, I have no idea. But he's here. And he must be a millionaire. He collects, or something like that, collects a fortune from people from Norway that are like Israel. But they like Israel, but they're not going to give money to the Messianic Jews. They're going to give money to their own non-Jew, non-Israelite guy from their own country. So they come here and they visit, and they go visit him, and here's $2,000, here's $1,000, And what does this character do with the money? Well, he can't go out and buy Bentleys and wear jewelry and stuff like that. But what do they do? Well, he has no money problems, lives probably in a very decent house, buys a car every 2 or 3 years, and takes a lot of trips. And when they travel out of Israel, nobody knows what they're doing. A lot of the trips are ministry-oriented, but they could get lost for a week or 2 in between ministry and go stay at a luxury resort somewhere, couldn't they? Of course they could. Go someplace where they're not known, like in the nice summer, go to a big, beautiful 5-star resort on the Black Sea in Romania, for instance. Or go to Monaco. Who's going to know they're there? But they're not going to be able to run around with Ferraris and stuff like that. That'll sink their ship. They can't live in a mansion. That'll sink their ship. Okay? They can't walk around wearing $500 shirts and $1,500 shoes. That'll sink their ship. But what they can do is they can eat very well. I used to see them years ago. They'd go to the supermarket in Mevis Zion, where I was living, and they'd look for a good bottle of wine for their Shabbat dinner. I mean, we'd be happy we could buy soda. They'd be sitting there looking for a nice, expensive bottle of wine. We'd have rat-trapped cars. They'd have nice new Volvos. Stuff like this. The big thing was they would go to the people and say, we need money, we need to get a van so we can pick the people up and take them to services on Shabbat because the buses don't run. Clever, huh? So they would get, vans were very expensive back then. So they'd get a van every couple of years, every 2 or 3 years. They wouldn't get one every year. Or maybe they'd get one and then they say, oh, the church is growing so much, we need a second van. They'd get one for the wife, one for the husband. And would they pick the people up and take them to their congregation meetings on Saturday? Yes, they would. What do they do the rest of the week, these people? They do the service on Saturday. They spend a little time looking in one of the books and preparing a sermon from a book or something like that. And they got, maybe they're tied up 12, 15 hours a week, maybe less, maybe 6 or 8. And the rest of the time, well, maybe they even work 20 hours a week. But They were becoming like millionaires, these people. So Finland also would have people here from Finland. They have a house called Finnish House in Jerusalem, where the people from Finland go and stay. They pay money. It's a hostel house, a nice one, like a hotel, really. And they eat Finnish food, and they stay there, and they don't give a flip about Messianic Jews living here. They don't support Messianic Jews. Jewish people going back to the land, living here, suffering the hardships, the discrimination, all the trouble, putting their young ones in the military and all this stuff. They don't care. They're that crackpot, the church. All the churches. They don't care. They have another gospel. And all Israel is good to for them is for the tribulation, so they know they're getting raptured up. And then we can get our heads cut off. Their rapture is so stupid. First of all, Yeshua said 4 times that everybody goes up on the same day, the last day. John 6:39, 40, 44, and 54. 4 times Yeshua said everybody goes up on the same day. These knucklehead dummkopfs have a doctrine where there's, they go up and then there's a left behind. The tribulation saints that get saved during the tribulation. Where do they get this stuff from? Marvel Studios? DC Comics? It's moronic. Moronic. It's idiotic. It's completely against the words of Yeshua. Completely. Totally against what he said. Yet they ascribe to it. Are these the saints? Are these the saved? No, they're not. That's why their behavior is so bad. You got this other one running around here. They call her Jerusalem James. She's from Europe someplace. I don't know where. And she's not an Israel. She's not a Jewish believer. She's something churched, and she runs around, does broadcasts out of Jerusalem, and they send her money. They won't send money to Messianic Jews. They don't want to. They want somebody from, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Iceland, Germany. They want their own person here. And they give money to that person, not to the Jews. They are anti-Semitic. Many of these churches are against, they're going to, many, like the Methodists, I think Presbyterian, I don't know, many of them. I did studies on this, and I told you which ones they were. They don't believe the West Bank is Israel. And goods made in the West Bank are wrong, and they boycott it. And they stripped any investments they had with Israel. The Catholics can't stand the Jews here. They have no use for Jewish people, Jewish believers in Israel. They're here, so when the Catholics come to Israel, they can attend the Catholic Church. They must have 8 or 10 of them running around Israel. See, they were here before 1948, and the government of Israel grandfathered them in. The Arabs let them come here. So they are here, they have sites here, and the Catholic tourists come here and go visit the Catholic churches, have Mass, which is a sick thing, and all this other crackpot crap they do, right? Everything to keep them away from the Jewish believers. The tour operators keep them away from the Jewish believers. They don't want anybody from these tourists going there to Jewish believers. They don't want them supporting them. They are scared of it being easy for them to live here and come here. The government doesn't even let them come here. It's against their own Supreme Court decision. It's against their own law of return. So they don't deny. What they do is that they come here and they ask everybody If you ever now or in the past believed in Yeshua or Jesus, and if you say yes, they immediately at that point in time deny your application. You've got to get a lawyer and go to court and sue them, and you'll win, but it'll take a good 3 or 4 years. It can cost you tens of thousands, like $80,000. There are charities that will sue for you for free, and those charities are pretty okay people, really. And this is what they do. They just pick on you. Okay? And they do it to experts, musicians and stuff like that. They do it to them too. They stay here for a while and they fight them, and then after a few years, they give up and they go home. It's illegal what they do, but they do it because Aryeh Deri and his ultra-Orthodox party, Netanyahu always lets them run the immigration department, and they discriminate against the believers openly and knowingly, and Netanyahu's perfectly okay with it. Netanyahu's saying. So, that's, a horrible thing that goes on here. And it's been like that since I first hit Israel in the 90s, although I left for many years. But and then came back. It makes it even harder to live here. It wears you down. It wears you down. If we get a left-wing government, is it spiritually going to be better for Israel? I think it will be. But you got to have the two witnesses as the judges for it to be really good. But what would the left wing do? Would they would strip the stinking ultra-Orthodox of their power in the government. That's one of the things they would do. Because it's just, they realize how sick these people are, okay? They want to be supported by everybody else. They don't want to go in the military. They want to hate everybody else. They want to pick on the Christians and make them go to jail for saying the words Yeshua or Jesus in a way that could be construed as evangelism, to minors or evangelism in general. So if Christian tourists were at any of the so-called holy sites and the tour leader was doing a Bible study using the name of Yeshua and Jesus and the prayer and everything else, and somebody that was a minor under 18 years old was walking around there that was an Israeli that could hear it, boom, everybody in the group could go to jail for 6 months. That's what these morons want to do. They want to blot the name of Jesus and Yeshua out of Israel, like they did with Jehovah. How do they do that? They teach their people, you can't say the name Jehovah. That's the most absurd thing I ever heard of, but they do it. And these people believe them. So instead they insert the name Hashem, which is the name. I don't know, who are we talking about? Henry Ford, Henry Fonda, Broderick Crawford, Elvis Presley. Who's the name? I don't know. It's a joke. So they've got their own people to blot the name of Jehovah out. So they're just troublemakers, okay? And they're problematic people. And Netanyahu is so desperate because of his criminal cases, he works with them. But Yair Lapid and Benny Gantz won't work with them. Will they open up immigration? Yeah, they're not going to be very worried, I don't think I could be wrong, about people coming here and saying they're Messianic. They're not that worried about it. Will they open up immigration to non-Jews? I don't think you'll ever see that till the two witnesses are the judges. I don't think you'll ever see that. Yeah, it's possible, but they're light years away from that. Most of the Israelis don't want that. Most of them, really, the secular ones and so forth. They don't want it. Because they know that people will come here, they'll be nice at the beginning, and then they'll discriminate against them later on, and it'll turn into a hate Jew country. It's ridiculous. They won't do it. So that's something that I don't think is likely to happen. But they may let the Messianic Jews that can show they're Jewish actually come here, which is what the law is. Will they strip the power of the Supreme Court? No. Will they reverse things? I don't know. There's not that much damage yet. They might reverse some of it. I don't know. Will they defend Israel against the Arabs in attacks? Yes, they'll do whatever they have to stop the attack. Will they wipe out Hamas and PIJ, Gaza? No. I don't think so. It's possible, but I don't know. Or Hezbollah. But if they get into a fight with Hezbollah, they'll fight voraciously. The difficulties with Hezbollah may not be over. Hezbollah, the military is saying it is, but I'm getting controversial reports to that. They're watching Israel very closely to see how messed up we are with the protests in the government. If they think we're messed up enough, they can attack. But the reservists that are not reporting for training duty will normally go report to the base if a real attack happens. But they're trying to get the people scared away from Netanyahu. You see, if you don't take desperate measures, you're not going to get rid of Netanyahu because he's desperate. You understand? And he'll do anything. So you almost have to do extreme behavior to get rid of this moron Netanyahu. Or he'll keep dragging everybody down to stay out of jail. And then after he's out of jail, what comes next? Payback. Revenge. Go after the courts, go after the OG, go after those that supported the opposition. That's how he's an immature, narcissistic, sociopath, derelict, lunatic that it shouldn't be, maybe you could have him work in a laundromat or something, he's just a schmuck. And a mean, vindictive, evil person. And what he's done to Israel and made Israel such a horrible country to live in with his 20 years in office is disgusting. Why do I say horrible? Every week Jews are getting killed in the street, innocent Jews, men, women, and children. Every week some of them are getting killed. You think that's fun? Every year we get bombarded with rockets, 2 times, 3 times? He lets that continue, he never stops it, so it doesn't happen again. Taxes are incredibly high now. Housing prices are literally insane. Food prices are crazy. And he spends all this money on military defense. What does he use it for? He's got 50 F-35s. What does he do with them? I don't know. And he wants more. What does he do with them? It's a deterrent from who? It's just a liar. I put up on my Telegram a quote from one of the major newspapers in Israel talking about Netanyahu lying. I wanted you guys to see that major publications here in Israel routinely call him a liar in headlines. It's that bad. But the papers all call him a liar. You know how bad he is to see it get to that level? He's a liar. Probably around the world most of them are, but this one is excessive. So, do I think Benny Gantz will go with him? Nah, I don't know, but I give it 50-50. Benny Gantz is dumber than Netanyahu, and Netanyahu takes advantage of him. But I don't think Benny Gantz's people would support him in a coalition with Netanyahu. People just want an end to Netanyahu. They don't want him in politics anymore, and others do because of the corruption. Netanyahu's in power. Oh boy, I'll start getting government contracts. Oh boy, I'll get promoted on my job. Oh boy, I can get my nephew a job now. You know, this is the kind of crap you get from me. You know, they call it protexia, corruption. You know. So I think, but I don't understand why Benny Gantz and Yair Lapid don't do a vote of no confidence against Netanyahu. This is bewildering to me. It almost makes me think that you have to take as a possibility that this guy, uh, Gantz, really does. Or there's something else going on that I don't understand. So after the time and a half of time, which is the half of captivity, then no more bad stuff happens to Israel. Now you see this again in Daniel 12, I think. It's 11 or 12. Daniel 12:1. And at that time, let's go back to 11 and see if we can figure out what that time is from the end of Daniel 11. And he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help. So, you know, let me just again take you through Daniel 11 quickly and explain to you. This is, okay, we lost, I don't know if you turned it off or not. I gotta plug the charger in. Battery on this is running low. And we're got it plugged in so we don't have to worry about that. Okay. Daniel 11. This is the attack, the great day of the Lord, which they call the tribulation incorrectly. And let me show it to you. That it's not the tribulation. Daniel 11:1. Also, I in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and strengthen him. First year of Darius is, well, the Mede. Okay, let's keep reading. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and a 4th shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength through his riches he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. And this is apparently stuff that happened in the past. And, you know, the church guys will tell you they know who the 3 kings are. They don't know. How do I can't figure it out. How are they going to get it? And a mighty king, they get history books, but how do you know they didn't cook the books with the history books? And a mighty king shall stand up that shall rule with great dominion according to his will. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken, and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion, which he ruled, for his kingdom shall be plucked up even for others beside those. And that apparently is in the past, I guess. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. What's the south, and who is this king? I don't know. You know? I don't know. And the church will tell you they know, but how the heck do they know? And in the end of years they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement, but she shall not retain the power of the army, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begot her, and he that strengthened her in these times. I have no idea who that would be in the present day. Do you? A woman? I don't know. No recollection. I don't get it. Oman, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. Oh, it could be Jordan, but Jordan's not really in the south. But when you say it's a she, bingo. But that's not the meaning of the word here, the she. So I don't, I don't see who this could be. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. Well, who is the king of the north? Are you talking Ukraine and Russia? Maybe, I don't know. And shall also carry, maybe it's a maybe, I don't know. And shall also carry captives into Egypt. Well, that's not happening, so that theory is not holding up too good. Their guards with their princes and with their precious vessels of silver and of gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. So the king of the south shall come into the kingdom, and shall return into his own land. But his sons shall be stirred up, and they shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through. Then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler. Now, choler is not a word that we normally use. It means to be big choler, to give you a description of the word, but I don't think then Yahweh can't possibly be the king of the south. Okay, impossible. And the king of the south shall move with choler. Well, maybe because it's Judah, he might be referring to the land of Judah as the south, because Israel was the northern kingdom. I don't know. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north, and he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. So I could probably make a case that Judah or Israel, which is who we are now, he refers to us as Judah and Jerusalem, which would be the south, fighting with Ukraine. But man, I'd never say that. I have nothing to base it on. I don't think it's necessarily correct. I wouldn't know how to make that case. And when he hath taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many 10,000s, but he shall not be strengthened. For the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than of the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south, also the robbers of thy people. Who can that be? There's a lot of that. Also the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. It sounds like Israel, like the people living in Judah, which is us today. The robbers of thy people, that could be the bad shepherds of Ezekiel 34. Exalt themselves to establish the vision. Chatzon. It could be their own false dream or vision. It doesn't have to be the true vision. Okay? But they shall fall. So it's probably not a vision from God. It's their own wishes. So the king of the north shall come and cast up a mount and make the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength Okay, now I'm on verse 14 of Daniel 11. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land. That's probably Israel, but being glorious, let's check that word. Beautiful. I wouldn't call Israel today beautiful. Splendor, but I think it probably means Israel. Okay, glorious land, which by his hand shall he consume. Well, consume. Consume it, do away with it or something. He shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do, and he shall give the daughter of women, corrupting her, but she shall not stand on his side, neither he for him. After this shall he turn his face unto the isles, and shall take many, but a prince for his After this shall he turn his face unto the isles, the islands, I don't know who that is, and shall take many, but a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach orphaned by him to cease without his own reproach. He shall cause it to turn upon him. Then he shall turn his face towards the fort of his own land, and he shall stumble and fall, and not be found. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes. Well, that could be anybody's problem. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom. But within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom. But he shall come in peaceably, and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. With the arms of a flood shall they be overflown. Overflown. 7857. Wash over. Inundate, cleanse, flow. Overflown from before him. With the arms of a flood. Now, flood is usually people coming in. Shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. Now, this is probably referencing one of the two witnesses, the anointed prince in the next temple. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably even upon the of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done. Now what is that? I don't know. Do you know? Nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, and spoil and riches, yea, and he shall forecast his devices. What the heck is a device? Forecast. Strong's number 4284. It could be his plots or his contriving. He shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. I don't know, are we the strongholds? And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up in battle with a very great and mighty army, but he shall not stand for they shall forecast devices against him. Yea, they that feed of the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do much mischief, and they shall speak lies. They shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at a time appointed. Then he shall return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant. Okay, and he shall do and return to his own land. So he keeps going back to his own land. At the time appointed, he shall return and come towards the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. For the ships of Shittim shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation. And he will have indignation against the Holy Covenant. That would be with Yeshua, apparently. The covenant would have. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the Holy Covenant. That would be the false belief, I'm thinking. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice. They shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. This is the great day of the Lord. This is Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11. It's Zechariah 14 it's the whole book of Joel, and it's Gog and Magog in Ezekiel 38:39. And this image that maketh desolate is placed in the northern gate between the inner and outer courtyards, not in the holiest of holies. And such as do wickedly against the covenants shall he shall he corrupt by flatteries, but the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. The people that do know their God shall be strong and do. And the word do is to do. The do works. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword and by the flame, by captivity and by spoil many days. Now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries, and some of them of understanding shall fall to try them. Look, I'm going to keep going through this, but let me step out for a moment, take a quick break, and I'll be right back. All right, step on the sheath. All right, relax, guys. Okay. So, what we're learning from this so far is basically that it doesn't match the church narrative, yet it's not easy for us to put together what's going on. How when they shall fall, they shall be holpen or helped with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flattery. That's the false believers. They use flattery. Some of them of understanding shall fall to try them. Those would be the true believers, and to purge and to make them white. That might be going on with us now. Not a fulfillment of this, but still a similar thing to get the dross out of us. Even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers. Does that make him Jewish? How would you say that? Based on what? It could be Hindu, it could be Buddhist, it could be Muslim, it could be anything. Nor the desire of women. Does that make him a gay guy, or it just makes him not interested in women? See? Nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not. Still doesn't make him Jewish. Shall he honor with gold and silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds. With a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. Now, the word for land is not ha'eretz, it's ground or land, so it doesn't necessarily specify it to be Israel. Okay? And I don't think it's Israel, because it would say ha'eretz, not Adamah. And at the time of the end of the age, I guess, or close to it or something, or the end of this episode, shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind. So he's obviously, this dude has never taken over all the nations, has he? No, he hasn't. Has he set up a one world order? No, he never did. The church narrative doesn't match this. Shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen, and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries, and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter also into the glorious land. Now it says ha'eretz for land, so this is probably Israel. And many shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand. It appears to be countries shall be overthrown. And it names Edom, Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon, which is basically Jordan. Again, this kicks against his one world order. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries and the land of Egypt. And upon the land, that's Haaretz. Wait a minute, let's start again. Also upon the countries. That's the nations, the lands. It doesn't say countries, it says Haaretz. No. What it's saying is he stretched forth his hand against the land, meaning Israel, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasure of gold and silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. Biblical Ethiopia may not, from what I'm reading, be the Ethiopia we think of today. So this land is, Egypt definitely is in Greater Israel to a part only, so Libya not, perhaps the old Ethiopia not. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him, therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. His one world order isn't in existence that the church teaches. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace. Let's look up the word palace. Then it's not a word for a temple. It's coming from a foreign word they adapted into the language of Hebrew, I guess. He shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. So he's probably thinking between the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. The holy mountain would be Mount Zion. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Well, we don't see Yeshua coming down and taking the beast and false prophet and throwing him alive into the lake of fire and binding this one up. Of course, he's not Satan. It's not. The church narrative is completely wrong. Now we'll go to 12. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble as never was, since there was a nation, referencing Israel, even to that same time, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book of life, it would be. This is the great day of the Lord, Zechariah 14, Ezekiel 8 to 11, the book of Joel, Ezekiel 38 and 31. And many of them that sleep, and that is not the great tribulation. There's no beast, no false prophet, no talking statue, no mark of the beast, none of that going on. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, that would be the dry bones, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament. Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. This is all rotating around the great day of the Lord. That's from Isaiah 60. And they that turn many to righteousness, as the stars forever and ever. Well, that means the ones that are spreading the true gospel, because that's the only way you're going to turn anybody to righteousness, is with the true gospel, not the phony gospel of the churches. That won't work. As the stars forever and ever, so that's, eternal life, subtly explaining to you, it's eternal life operating there. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. So the book is still sealed, so I'm not opening the whole book. And many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Run to and fro. Let's look the words up. And many, let's look the word up for many. Rav. Many or much. Run to and fro. 77, 51 Strong's number. Shoot. To go to and fro. Eagerly or quickly to go to and fro. To travel and go quickly. So I would say it's air travel. Okay? So many shall run to and fro, that's air travel, and knowledge shall be increased, I would say. Let's look at the word knowledge, 1847, da'at. Knowledge, perception, skill, cunning, knowledge. I would say that's learning the true gospel and an emphasis on spiritual warfare, maybe. Knowledge shall be, and in general, the internet, knowledge, the internet. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood another two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river. Now, Yeshua walks on water. This is him. How long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swore by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times, and a half a time, when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. Now that means, and on this I'm positive, that when the great day of the Lord is over, all the bad things that happened to Israel are over. To the Jew first and then the Greek. So the bad stuff and the good stuff to the Jew first and the Greek. Then, after the great day of the Lord is over, the nations have to go worship the Lord on the Feast of Tabernacles once a year. If they don't go, they won't get any rain, and they have to serve Israel as the head of the nations, or they'll be destroyed. Well, they rebel eventually, which probably doesn't take very much time at all, and then they get the beast and the false prophet as deception, and many get destroyed, and then Yeshua eventually comes back after they kill the two witnesses, and throws the beast and the false prophet in the lake of fire, and Satan gets bound 1,000 years. New Jerusalem comes, and you enter into the millennium. That's the true gospel, not the crap of the churches. All these things shall be finished. So all the bad stuff that happens to Israel and Daniel is over when this happens. And I heard, but I understand not. Then said I, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And you see, he understood not. It hadn't been revealed then. Now some of it's been revealed, but not all of it. And he said, go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. Got it? So the church doesn't have these answers. It's sealed so far still. Many shall be purified and made white and tried. Tried. We're going through this. And how to get purified and white, the dross in the tin and all the impurities get burned out of you. But the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. They could sit there and listen to me till the red heifers come home, which 3 of them are already home. Yeah, they got 3, uno, dos, tres, the Kadstein Shalos, un, deux, trois, 3 red heifers that don't have the blemishes and stuff on them, and I think they're of the proper age. And they have them on a special kibbutz, and I think it's a kibbutz, and they're letting people come and look at them, but not touch them. They got them, all 3. But the wicked shall do wickedly. Let's check that word, wicked. Let's just see what Strong says. Concretely, a bad person, condemned, ungodly, wicked man. There we go. Okay, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. The word for understand, 995 Strong's. Discern. Distinguish. They don't understand. Okay? That's it. They're just never going to get it. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, that's when the glory of God leaves the temple. And that's the abomination, this image set up. Okay? That's an abomination. There'll be, let's read this again. The daily sacrifice taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up. There'll be 1,290 days, 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,335 days, which is a 45-day spread. That's probably the duration of this whole big attack on Israel back then. But go thy way till the end, for thou shalt rest, and stand in the lot at the end, in your lot. Stand in thy lot at the end of the days. So that means he'll get his rewards. So it's, like a good reminder to understand that the churches don't have a clue as to what they're talking about. Boy, I'm reaching new lows here on YouTube. They're going out of their way to keep me away from getting new people, I suppose. So, that's pretty much what I was supposed to deliver today. And pray that we get these videos, get more circulation on the internet. I put them up on Telegram and I put them up on Twitter. So pray we get to reach more people, but it could be that the remnant that's supposed to receive this is just so small, there's never going to be a big number of people, or that could change. I don't know. We could certainly pray more people see the videos and receive the true gospel. Okay, so I'm Moshe, my wife is Rivka. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, and joy. Please pray for our animals and pets that are all rescued to be happy, healthy, and whole and not run away. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos and more people see them. And that's about it, I guess. So thank you for the offerings, those that are giving. And I guess they've got me, marked to stop people from seeing my videos more than they ever used to. Because it's much less now. See, we're encroaching in their world, in their platforms, in their things that they're using to spread their message. And we're using this. And they make it rather hard. They make it rather hard on purpose. They don't want this being spread. So if we pray to the Lord, I think we might be able to overcome this or something. But again, I'm building up my own website. So it's moshehakon.com. MOSHEHAKON.com. It has all the good Bible studies up. There's about 300 or 400 pages of Bible studies there. Nothing yet. We've isolated a web hosting company with unlimited bandwidth. That's very affordable. So we don't have to worry about S-spots going there and just playing the video over and over and over and over and over and running up the bandwidth and causing me to get a bill of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for the month. This is unlimited. So unlimited is unlimited. So there's not going to be much motivation for them to do anything. So there's a couple of ways I could do this. I could make a YouTube video like I'm doing a live stream, bring it down, change it to an acceptable format for the web hosting, for the video hosting, and upload it up there. Not playing it from YouTube, playing it from there. And I could do that. Or I could make just a video on the iPad, which is easy to do, and upload it to YouTube as a video and upload it to the website and also to Twitter. So there'll be a lot of uploading, but that's pretty brain dead activity. It's pretty mindless. I got pretty good internet, so it wouldn't be that difficult. I have unlimited bandwidth here, so I wouldn't have much trouble with that. There's apps you could buy where you could upload simultaneously to several places, but that's not going to be valuable because your bandwidth will be used up and it will go so slow. It's not going to be any great savings. So people finding your website is another story, but at least when you have your own website, you're not going to get strikes, you're not going to get objections or takedowns or anything like that. So there'd be no censorship. The only thing they would censor would be illegal activity. That's it. Which preaching the scriptures and exposing false believers is not criminal activity. After I get the videos going, then I've got to get something going where I can post birth paying end times news up there and censorship free, so I'll work on that. So that's where I'm headed with this, and I'll keep adding Bible studies to the website. There's quite a few up there now, and probably pushing 20 or so. And they're the good ones, the real good stuff, the real, good stuff. You'll enjoy those. And they have the text to the King James right in there. And then I'll try to put some more up and do the news, the birth pains up there, and then have videos up there to teach with also. And I could go to chat rooms there somehow, I don't know. That's a possibility, I could do that. See, I could do what I want. I could issue passwords to people that I know and let you in the chat, and other people can't get in. So it's like my own Zoom on my own server that I control. If I go to Zoom and I start talking freely, they'll just shut the session. That's it. The other problem with Zoom is it only archives for a week or a month or something like that. So I think a week. It's not a very useful platform. But I'm sure there must be a lot of software that I could use to set something like that up. Well, that's about what I got. Offering information's in the description box, working links for Patreon and GoFundMe. My email address is IsraelGiving7 is at the bottom of the description box. Please pray for us to get good customers for our guest house. We need to start having that place make money. So please pray for that too. Appreciate all of your prayers, and pray that I can figure out a way to spread spiritual warfare more people. So I think if we had, let's say, 10,000 people doing spiritual warfare, the pain we would cause Satan and the unclean spirits would be so bad. I don't know how they'd be able to function well. Well, that's what I got for today. I hope you got something out of it. But, I don't have a full opening yet. Oh, Daniel, that's not for today. But at least we know that the church narrative is bogus. Okay? And that's what I got for now. And the book of Daniel has all the bad stuff that happens to Israel. Okay? And the beast and the false prophet and all that stuff's not in there. It happens to the nation. It's not Israel. Okay, guys, I'm out. Thanks.